To anyone who is watching this video at the moment, I want to open up myself to you. On the surface, I look like somebody who has it all together, who is composed, who is very serious about achieving her goals. Somebody who is very outgoing, or maybe very introverted, depending on when you see me. I may be somebody on the surface who brings laughter and joy into the entire room, or somebody who brings in a lot of gloom and negativity into the surroundings that I was in. You may also know me as somebody who's very brave, someone who loves to try new things, who doesn't give up in spite of difficulties and challenges ahead of me. Or you may know me as somebody who just wants to leave everything behind and give up on all the endeavors that I'm under. Rather than summarizing all these different parts of me, I'd like them to all speak for themselves. For you guys to learn more about what it's like for me to live with invisible illnesses that you cannot see on the very surface, because I don't look like somebody who is crippled, and I am physically able and I'm in a privileged position to be able to speak to you in the way that I do and go to places that I do have the ability to go. But I still want to speak for those other people who might relate to this video, who might be struggling and suffering alone every day in loneliness for so many years and being unheard, just like how I did. And I want you to know me better this way, because this is something that I have been hiding from you guys for a very long time. I barely talked about it, and in fact, I didn't even know about those parts of me before very recently in the past few months. You may see some really embarrassing moments about me today in this documentary or video, whatever you call it. But I still want to be very honest to you, because this is the only life that I will have on this earth, and I am done pretending to be somebody that I am not.
Thinking about it, I've not changed much between being a child and being an adult. I still love sweets, desserts from Western countries, but I start to appreciate desserts from other countries as well. I still love writing. I still want to be an author one day of children's stories, like how I did when I was small. I still love to make desserts with loved ones, like family and good friends. I don't really get to do them as much as I used to, though, given how I'm busy and stuff. I've also got into like writing sort of role playing when I was around 16 years old, and I loved it. But I've not done that for a few years now. The thing is, I've gone into a writer's cafe in the past month or two, and I have made some new friends. It was really amazing to be in there every week. I stay behind and socialize with them after the event is over, and it's just really cool. I mean, finding other people who also love to write and want to improve in their writing skills. So I don't think things have been bad in any way, except that I will have to wait for a bit until I get to publish my very first book. And that's it. Hello, I am Veritas, and I am now very different from how you used to know me when I was in Hong Kong secondary school. Back then, I was very withdrawn. I was very introverted. Not like introvert is a bad thing. I was very quiet, always on my own, so very lonely, but not able to articulate anything to anyone. Now, I am a very different person than I used to be. After staying in the UK for a few years and experiencing some major life changes, including things related to DID, I would say that I am a new person now, and I am more of an extrovert than I used to be an introvert. Not like extrovert is better than being an extrovert. And I would say that now I am interested in being an entrepreneur. I want to create new solutions to change the world around me and have more people getting benefited from the new solutions that I have envisioned. I would say I am ambitious. I like to climb further up the ladder and achieve more and have more awards in the cabinet that I have. I would say that I also like translation. I still like it. I am now applying for university with translation at the moment. I really want to be an interpreter someday, or just being a proofreader, because I am really good at proofreading, and I love to find the wrong thing and correct it to the right thing. Also, I would say that I still like watching concerts, whether it be musicals, orchestras, operas. I still go to all of them. But I have also discovered that I like watching local Hong Kong productions in cinemas, in productions, in creative works in general. I just like to enjoy those things. And now I have a really clear goal in mind, whereas before I used to be so lost because I didn't know what I liked and what I disliked. After a few years now abroad, I have explored a lot more, and I have realized that I enjoyed expanding my horizons and really working towards my dreams. I'm still a workaholic, but instead of studying hard and not study smart, I am now more of the other way around, where I find different strategies in self-help books and incorporate them into my life to study smart instead of study hard, so that I am more able to utilize the time I have to engage in other projects like DID Bunk, which is the podcast that I'm working on. And other than DID Bunk, I'm also looking for different job opportunities, and I hope that I will also be able to study business studies alongside with translation, so that I can develop in more of a holistic way in both areas of my life. And I like to compete with people. I used to be more passive. Now I would say I'm a lot more proactive, and I am now much more happier than I used to be before. I have made new friends. I have explored more of my hobbies. I have gone to new places. It makes me happier as a result to know that there's more to life than just working hard. Hey guys, I'm Aiden. I see myself as rather bold, energetic, easygoing, loving to try new things, quite outgoing, and adventurous. Yeah. Okay, so what do I like doing in my free time? So as you can see in these pictures, I like to do hands-on skills like repairing this tricycle, for example, going on mountaineering activities like hiking on muddy terrain and camping. I am currently doing a level 2 mountain craft certificate after having completed the level 1 certificate for mountain craft, which is really nice because it also has orientation skills and survival skills in itself, which I'm quite excited for. And also like photography, like taking pictures, like taking photos of nature and sceneries, and like animals as well. Just something that I've never seen before that intrigues me. I just like to learn more about it, like by exploring with it instead of learning it in theory. No, I just like being around and traveling around to new places and just learning about its geography. It really does intrigue me.
Hi guys,
guys, I'm Janessa. You can call me Jen in short. I was the one who did all the singing, all the acting, all the dancing, all the script writing for my drama production in Wooden Spoon Puppets. And I was also the one who went to all family programs that I used to go to when I was younger. Nowadays, I am narrowing down to singing in particular and developing myself in more of a musical way rather than a dancing way, as I used to think when I was younger. Well, with that being said, that means I am now pursuing my grade 8 practical singing exam from ABRSM, which is a musical board. I already did both my grade 5 musical theory and grade 5 practical singing exam with merits in both of them, and I'm now aiming to become a performer, if you will, and be in a band and be a front woman in that too, or I could just be in a musical production for that. If that works out, I would be really glad. If it doesn't, I will just help more people gain access to skilled music like classical singing, like how I did, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunities I'm being given. Hello, I'm Sapphire, and I still like the same things as how I used to when I was younger. I still love being underwater, like swimming. I still love astronomy, stargazing, marine animals, coastal landscapes, and stuff to do with being in the water in general. I tried scuba diving in summer 2023 and I discovered that I love it. I want to develop a bit more in that regard and actually get a scuba dive wherever I go. I really like a lot of things, as you can see, to do with science. I still like chemistry and biology. I still like being in caves, especially those with icicles in it. I still love so many of these sort of things to do with nature and being in moonlight and whatever. But unfortunately, my chronic depression is stopping a lot of opportunities for me to do anything about it. So right now, I'm just trying my best to survive, and hopefully one day I will improve my condition and be in a place where I can explore all of those things that I've wanted to do. Hi, I'm Leticia, and I've had a lot of life changes ever since I went to super camp as a 16-year-old in 2018 in California Standard University, where it was founded. It was a training camp, and I learned a lot of inspirational qualities and motivation after going there. Ever since, I've become a lot more proactive in achieving my potential in being a peer supporter online. In the past 8 years, ever since I was 15 years old, I've been doing that voluntarily online on a Discord server. Having done online peer supporter work for teenagers and young adults for 8 years now, I am now looking forward to expanding my capabilities into helping people by video calls, voice calls, and meeting them in person, so that I'm able to help people in more ways than just texting them. A lot of you who knew me as a teenager would have known that I was a founder of a Discord server for cultural exchange and language learning. Although I am no longer in that server and I am not the owner of it anymore, I am still equally as passionate, if not more, about languages and culture, just like how I did when I was younger. In fact, after meeting all those people from all over the world throughout my teenage life and now in my young adult life, I've realized that I want to learn more about languages and culture even more than before, and be deeply immersed into a wide range of cultural and language backgrounds. Instead of learning many languages at a time, I've realized that the approach of learning one language at a time in much greater depth and becoming absolutely fluent in them, being more of my priority nowadays compared to before. And I am now currently learning Tagalog and Tamil as a result. I learned Tagalog in 2020, but now at the moment I am putting it a little bit at the back burner and learning Tamil in greater detail. Hello, I'm Emerald, and if you knew me as a child, I would have been the one who did all the artwork, like painting, drawing, etc. And if you know me now as a young adult, you would have known me as the one who went to all my Catholic catechism classes every Saturday morning and went to Mass every Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon or evening. Well, I also go to an autism and ADHD peer support group every week to understand my condition better in relation to myself and other people and how it impacts me, as well as like learning how to manage it in a lived experience way to learn from other people as well. Because unfortunately, as somebody who was diagnosed early in life with both autism and ADHD, I still don't know much about it, which is unfortunate because apparently it does affect me in all kinds of ways that I don't expect. And I do relate to things that I didn't know were an autistic thing or an ADHD thing. Other than that, I have rediscovered my faith, you can say. When I was around 13 years old, I used to go to a Protestant non-denominational evangelical church for around 2 years, and I stopped going because of the interpersonal environment. It wasn't really for me. But then something was missing in the church too. I guess I was somebody who first went to a Catholic church for primary school, and that was like the first thing that I really do feel that impact. Like after having that, it seemed like everything else was missing something, and I'm really glad that I've gone back to that path, like gone back into going to a Catholic faith environment like how I used to when I was around 6 to 8 years old. I really enjoyed that as a child back then, and not only sentimentally, but now I've also found myself believing in the things beyond the ceremony stuff, as more like the beliefs, the pillars that comes with it as well, which I find a lot of serenity after having discovered that Catholicism is for me, and that's why I'm taking classes. And I've not changed much from when I was a child, except that instead of focusing on drawing, I prefer painting now. And I like to develop more in my oil painting skills, which is something I'm quite intrigued towards. And hopefully one day I will really get to do something out of it, even though right now I am more focused into enjoying myself and being firm on my convictions in faith and being close to God. If you are my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, my cousins, and my parents, my siblings, you would be very familiar with me because I'm the one who shows up for my family gatherings with my extended family, and definitely something to do with my immediate family's future. I'm the one who looks after all of these things, and the other alters would not interfere in that because I grew up with it. I was always faced with them, and that's what I know. Right now, after my maternal grandpa died, I've had a really major life change in that I realized I don't have a sense of self outside of my family relations biologically. I am discovering my hobbies and interests outside of personality type theories and reading fiction. I am listening to true crime stories, which I realize that I like. And I am still in the process of figuring out what it really means to be me. I realized when I was 19 studying abroad, where there was an American, there's a Chinese, and there's a British person. And when I was talking to all of them, I would keep on changing my accents to match this. And then at that moment, people asked me what my real accent was, and I was confused. That was a huge blow to me. That is something that I didn't even realize was an issue. That I didn't really integrate those different parts of me that was exposed to a lot of things, and I learned that I'm still trying to balance out between all these different accents when I'm talking. I'm still trying to find what it means to have my own voice instead of trying to cater to everybody else's strategically to get around in life and really pave a path for myself. Right now, I am taking self-defense lessons, and I took them when I was 19 too. But I've learned that I don't know enough, just in case I got attacked by somebody or something like that. I want to be skilled enough. I want to have the means to defend myself and be safe. So I took my first few lessons and I loved it, you can say. And I'm going to learn further. I'm going to study further in criminology if I can, and that's where I am at the moment. When I was a teenager, reading became a coping mechanism to temporarily escape from my problems. But then now I am starting to reappreciate the joy of reading without trying to run away from anything. It really is different from how I used to do, and I'm just learning to like the way that different authors write different stories.
Hello, I'm Amethyst, and you used to know me as the one who did lots of extensive research on horoscopes, palm reading, and face reading. Now I am more into spirituality and alternate medicine like Reiki, meditation, chakras, those principles like that, and something to do with gong baths as well, like things to do with vibrations and somatic exercises, those kinds of things. And I also learned that I'm just constantly on the lookout to find my true self. Through all these years, from the very beginning where I used to read a Buddhist book, the diagrams of it helps me navigate how to meditate for the very first time. And I still like it. It's very nostalgic for me to look back into those moments and see how much I've grown. A few months ago, I went to an activity called Love Hand, and I did a bit of this level 1 course. Definitely was eye-opening to me and making me realize that is what I wish to do in the future, even though it might not be on a professional capacity. It's more for connection with myself and other people, and definitely the first thing is to take good care of my own well-being.
I went to gymnastics. I went to mass art therapy. I did some sewing. But now I don't have those things around me. I am back after some years, and I still don't know why I'm back. Other people don't know. And I used to mask. Well, I sounded normal. But it's so tiring to do that all the time. So I now talk like this more. Make me more comfortable. And I still like Hello Kitty and Melody and Kuromi and the Sanrio characters. I like Cinema Roll. I still like them. And I want to become better at knitting.
all of me have been impacted by chronic illnesses that my body has. The symptoms that have been plaguing me for a long period of time for many years now. But it doesn't mean that all of me have felt the symptoms firsthand and can explain it as clearly as another part of me can. So today we are going to have different parts of me talk about the main symptoms that they can feel and sharing a little bit about their experiences on the documentary for you guys to learn more about. There are some things that you particularly avoid or dislike, but other people around you don't have that aversion and they're okay with it. So it's just you, but you just cannot get yourself to be okay with that. And vice versa, where you particularly crave for something and you can only want it. You don't really know how else to be, but other people seem to like it less than you do. And it's more of a spike where you'll like something a lot and another part of another thing that you can dislike a lot. But other people seem to be a lot more balanced and don't really understand your particular aversions or your particular interests.
There is always something different about me. I don't know how to say. I don't know how exactly, but always people don't want to be with me. Always talking, always act a certain way. But I'm like this, and I don't know why always I'm different. Always people don't want me. Always I am just not normal. I am being myself, and people always say they want to have people be like how they should be, but I already try and people still think it's not good enough.
Having autism for me is like having many heavy boulders and rocks that are blocking the entrance and you cannot permeate through them. I can be very sensitive towards the external environment, and that includes noise levels, lights, textures, and anything that I touch in general, and smell. there's so many ways that can easily overwhelm my bodily system, and whenever I do, it's not always in the place where I can escape from. Like being in the birthday party, for example, it often makes me feel quite distressed from the noise levels, from how many people there are, from the sensory input that is being given to me. But there's nothing much I can do about it but to stay there.
Too much change. Every day, every time I go out or meet other people, always something new, always new things, and always something I don't know. It's too hard. Every day is too much. I want things to be the same.
Understanding social cues like when to keep quiet and when to speak, and the meaning of words beyond its literal representation is something that I struggle with the most. That's because oftentimes I don't really have the means to go beyond the surface and see what is really hidden beyond that.
It's like using a sewing machine that simply wouldn't turn itself off, even when you press the buttons and try to manually stop the machine, until the machine breaks down itself and collapses, and you have to build it all over again, and it will keep on going, and the cycle will keep going and going, like a vicious one.
Having ADHD for me is similar to having a brain that has a mind of its own. With really important things, your brain doesn't always cooperate and chooses to focus on something less important at that very moment, and there's nothing much you can do about it but to force yourself back into the task at hand. And sometimes when you need a break from working, your brain doesn't cooperate and would just keep on thinking about it, even though you know that to have effective self-care is to put it behind you for a short period of time. Sometimes it can be quite frustrating to have this sort of experience, but in other times it seems to keep you going when your brain is focused so intensely on something that it wouldn't take its eyes off it.
Having ADHD for me is like having a brain that is always constantly running, and you have to keep on chasing after it in order to know what it has to say, and to communicate with others you have to wait, and then your brain cannot wait, and then by the time you can speak, you don't know what to speak anymore, so you are left in silence.
It has something to do with my impulsivity, that's for sure. Because I end up saying a lot of things that weren't processed by my brain, and my mouth would just blurt them all out, and I get into trouble for it later when somebody gets really offended by it. It's also very hard for me to control what I do, and sometimes when I realize the repercussions, it's too late, and I get to...
As somebody who has both ADHD and empathic abilities, I tend to be very easily distracted by the smallest things, and that includes having a pen accidentally fall on the floor, or something like having cars whoosh past the street that I am standing on. That can be quite distracting. I am very sensitive towards the external environment, including people's emotions and crowds, and sometimes it is really hard to distinguish between what is my ADHD and what is my empathic abilities, because I can be quite distracted either way by anything really. So what I'm trying to cope with that is to focus on the present that I am engaging in, even though that can be quite difficult for me to do so sometimes.
It's really difficult for me to describe this, but it's like every time I have the energy, I will just have to use it immediately. And once I lose the momentum, it's extremely difficult for me to pick it back up again and do the things I'm supposed to do. So oftentimes I am being dictated by this energy flow, and I will end up neglecting my food, sleep, hygiene, just to get things done. Something in my back causes a lot of discomfort, but I cannot solve the problem because it is something that you cannot cure per se. It's more like something that's already developed to be that way, so that is how I will have to live the rest of my life in this body. I have to learn to accept it. I have to acknowledge that my movements are affected by the way that my back is being curved, the way that there are different tensions on my muscles because of those issues in my back. Because of the bending, the twisting, the muscles are affected, and so I get sore pain in some areas that otherwise I would not have gotten. I could feel a lot of tension in my neck, and the way that my back is being structured differently because of some factors, like say maybe it's my bad posture, maybe it's something else, maybe it's the way that my muscles reacted when I had my growth spurt in puberty. Anyway, I have regular checkups for the mild scoliosis. It affects my movements, affects the way I look up, affects the way that I do things. In a way, I really have to learn to adapt to this new situation. In my case, my back is not balanced and not flat. There's one side that is obviously more sore than the other, and it shows. I could feel that my left side, which is more elongated, is more painful than my right side. And I know that's a pain. That's not
I don't really know how to describe it, except that it hurts and my hip doesn't feel comfortable at all. What people might think and what people will ask me whenever they realize that I have scoliosis. Every time they happen to know that I have scoliosis from physical checkups or x-rays or treatments, things to do with my back and my body in general, it always comes out as a question to ask me whether I have had those hard plastic braces before. And my answer is no, but actually, if I got 1 degree worse in my scoliosis, I would have had to wear the braces full time every day except for swimming and taking showers. And that to me is a huge source of struggle and pressure because I have never worn it, but then this warning is lingering at the corner and I have to be so actively hyper aware of how I sit, how I lie down. It can be quite uncomfortable to be like that, to always have to think about the way I'm sitting or standing or bending down or anything that I'm doing with my body at every given moment. That is, sometimes I have the pressure to wear the braces. I have people asking me about the scoliosis and what on earth happened to me that made me have to face scoliosis. I don't want to answer it. I like to keep it private, or sometimes I just want to evade from the diagnosis because having scoliosis to me is like showing that I am incapable and I don't like it. Knowing that my back will get worse as I become older is something that I still struggle to come to terms with. I really believe that my back has already been doing pretty poorly for my age, thanks to scoliosis and muscle tension and, my past traumas affecting my body as a whole. It's hard to determine what else I should do other than the preventative measures that I've been doing, like stretching and trying to use more parts of my body than the ones that I'm usually comfortable with. So that is a persistent worry that fuels my health anxiety.
Having DID for me is similar to recognizing that there's always something that you won't know about your life, and not only learning to accept it, you also embrace it and make it as something to worry less about. Because whenever you try to look into the details of things you don't know about, you come back with more questions than answers, and that can be distressing. So as long as it doesn't seem to be harming you at the moment, learning to go with the flow with that is definitely the way that I do experience it.
How is it like to live with symptoms of dissociative identity disorder? My answer to this question is very unclear because this is my normal. I didn't know that there was a thing called dissociative identities. I didn't know that switching was named and that I could describe any of my symptoms to anybody. It was all in my head, or so I thought. I remember extracting memories from different identities or different auras, as I call them, that had things that they're not supposed to know about. And that's all I've known for my whole life since the age of 4, when I started having DID. when this is all I've known, it's difficult to tell otherwise of how it could have been without it. Living with dissociative identity disorder for me is like looking at different pieces of evidence that could explain possibly my nature and my nurture factors throughout my upbringing. But even with all those evidences and people telling me about how my past was like, I'm still unsure as to who I am today, because I am still very much confused about who I was and what makes me the whatever I am that I am today. Growing up, I always could tell that something was different about me than the other children or teenagers that were surrounding me, basically people my age. I was pouting a lot as a child, and other children I noticed, they were smiling and laughing like they had nothing to worry about. I could tell at that point that I wasn't really aware of my surroundings in the way that other children just seem to know what's going on most of the time. So I could really tell that something was different about me, and I didn't have the language to say what exactly it was until knowing about my DID, and it seems like the mystery has been unfolded since knowing about DID. Say, quote-unquote entities inside of my own self, where, say, inside of my own body, to be more exact, where it didn't feel like me, but it definitely was me, because of course it was the body, so who else could it be? I just had these interactions with them since I was around kind of 6 years old, and then I just felt like, it kind of became normalized as I watched some anime. Like, and where I'm from, it's normal to have, anime as well. So I watched those shows for children, that it got normalized in those magical girl stuff, where it just so happens to kind of mirror to some degree, like going to another portal, and I'm like, yeah, of course we all have portals. It kind of got rationalized, it got normalized, but as I got older, it started to become things where I might just argue with them for ages with some of them. It's like a social network, but inside of your own head.
It's like being in a time machine where you transport from place to place, from time period to time period, and you're just jumping all over the place like a frog. There are always chunks missing in my life, and I don't know what happened, but to me, it's normal enough, and I will pop up here and there, and when I show up, I always have something that I don't know.
As an autistic person with a monotropic brain, having DID for me is like having many different structured boxes that are being cluttered around the room, and all I have to do is to focus on my particular bit, and everything else from other categories will solve on its own. Until a few years ago, I didn't even know that those different boxes have anything to do with me or anything to do with my life. I simply assumed that they have nothing to do with me and they're none of my business. In fact, a lot of the time, I didn't even know that they were there. So it's a very recent discovery for me to know that there are different parts outside of my own portion, and that there's so much more to my life than the successes that I've been pining for.
Having DID for me is like having many different forces that are pulling me towards different directions, and I just cannot choose which way to go, except to block out all the noises. But then it will take so much energy that I just cannot do anything productively at all.
My greatest struggle with dissociative identity disorder is definitely something to do with how detached I am from my body and the world around me. A key part of healing is to reconnect with the body, and this has been very, very challenging for me, especially when the entire survival mechanism is to disconnect from my body, as to feeling like I've fled from the situation and to allow another entity or identity to take over to protect me from the harm that is caused to me. It's still in my body, but I often feel like I am watching from afar. That is definitely something I do struggle with a lot during healing sessions and massage therapy. I feel like all that disconnection has me always needing to actively ground myself by touching different items and fabrics and feeling them in my hands and actively having to pay attention to them to become more mindful of my surroundings, because dissociating from different situations, even if it's not dangerous, is such a compulsive urge that is really, really, really difficult to break from this habit that has been ingrained for me from a young age.
What is my greatest struggle as someone with DID? My greatest struggle as someone who is living with dissociative identity disorder has something to do with how many secrets I am constantly keeping away from other people around me who could technically help me and technically care about me. That is because even though I know they do care, there is a lot of privacies that I have to consider, including myself as Sapphire, where I'm not ready to divulge information about myself. And I also don't want to divulge information about other alters that I am not sure if they like other people, like friends, family, and mental professionals to know about. I don't share just about anything I know. A lot of the information that I'm aware about myself are often very personal, and I don't want anybody to exploit that about me. I don't want to let go of it either. I know technically letting people in is part of building relationships, but I also couldn't help it but to be quite alert towards the potential dangers that are out there, because a lot of people have already hurt me and other alters in the past.
There are significant time lapses between the moments that I used to know and the other moments that I have now, and that can have me questioning the past that I have, because it can be quite foggy at times. It's not really attached to me. There is a certain sort of detachment from it that can be very hard to explain, and it's easy to second guess the past you may think it as and confuse it between a story that you think you have or something that has actually happened to you. So that can be very disorienting. Before officially knowing about my DID, I always found out that a lot of solutions that were very helpful to other people were not working for me. And I felt like there was just something off about my eyes, my medication. Sometimes it helps me a lot, and other times it seems to be less effective, even though it can be very subtle and not like worth telling the doctor about. It doesn't seem like it's easy for me to explain the things I'm going through unless they know about the alters, which I have been very open about, and knowing about DID has changed my life completely. But before that, it was just very hard to get my word across to other people who were working with me. There were times where I just find myself unable to do certain things that I'm normally say I expect myself to be able to do. So there's another of these quote-unquote entities who tried to help somebody, but then it backfired. It wasn't the way that I would help somebody, and that person got disappointed. And then I came back and I saw that the effects of that, and I started to panic. Like, oh, why did they do this? Like, why are you hurt?
I am very, very different from many other alters inside of my body, and that has led to a lot of people who used to know other alters before meeting me to have a lot of misconceptions about my character, and that makes me feel really misunderstood, and it's really difficult to make new friends, especially when those different alters don't really do the kind of stuff I normally do, and I don't have something that I can show I like a certain thing, or the skills to engage in those activities like mountaineering, like skiing, all sorts of stuff that I like and wish I'm good at. I'm just not good at it, and people would believe that I am just not who I describe myself to be, so it's really hard for me to get in touch with the people outside.
Nobody sees that I need help, and then when they meet other alters, it looks like they don't need it, and then I don't get the support I need.
Whenever I chat with other people, they always expect me to remember certain things about myself that I don't actually care enough to remember, or that even when I try to remember, nothing comes into mind. So that can create a little bit of a communication breakdown between me and other people in my social circle who knows my parents, who will probably talk about Aiden's adventures, in which I don't really care much about. And oftentimes I just want people to change the topic, but I just don't want to be rude about it. So I keep on staying there, and I pretend that I knew something, and I just make up things on the spot just to appease to those people, and hopefully they will stop talking about it so that I can finally talk about something I like as Janessa.
Not having control of what other identities are doing when they are out here is my greatest struggle. And that's because they could be doing just about anything. But what they're supposed to be doing for an urgent deadline when they are out here, they can be watching TV, they can be frolicking in the grass outside, they can be taking photos, they can be hiking. I have nothing to do that can stop them from doing the things that they want to do instead. After all, they have their own autonomy, and that means throughout my school life, I would get late for assignments, get late for school, late for anything else, and get punished for it. Even though I cannot remember anything that I was doing in between, it's like I am put in the position where I am being punished for something that I do not remember about. And the assignment is not done, so yes, I take the responsibility, but still, it doesn't stop it from being frustrating.
Living with generalized anxiety disorder
is akin to living with an oversensitive radar that would detect that just about anything in your surroundings is going wrong, even though technically when you look at it, nothing seems to be happening on the outside. But your radar always seems to find all sorts of reasons to point you out that something is going wrong and you have to look into it. So once you decided that it's too much, there is another thing that could confirm your fears in a way, and the radar is right once more, but then sometimes is wrong, so you don't really know what to rely on. Undoubtedly, it has something to do with how my body does not react to the stress appropriately whenever I have something really important to do that makes me quite nervous. My body would have stomach aches, it would make me feel really constipated, and I would stay in the toilet until the action is over a lot of the time, and it's completely outside of my control. So even when I wanted to go out, the very next second I would need to pee again, so I'll have to stay in the same cubicle as I was brought into myself. So that would make me feel really guilty, that makes me feel bad, that makes me feel even more anxious given how I know fully well that I would be missing out the action. And it makes me feel bad, it makes me feel apologetic. And there were a few times where people told me, staff members from my placements told me to go home early because of my body like reacting against certain situations in my placement. But I couldn't really do anything about it because I couldn't tell my body to stop. Even when I take deep breaths, it wasn't helping that much, and my breath becomes even quicker than before. So that can be quite stressful.
I have autism. When I go to a new place, a lot of people will find me super weird and they will not like me. So with all these experiences, when I go to a new place, I will find myself reacting. I will find like it's just impossible to believe that anyone will want me there. My heart will be so fast when I go outside, and I always think, oh no, 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 no. And even though people listen, I don't believe that they really want me there. And then I think maybe they are thinking something about me that I won't know and I can't tell, and then it will make me so worried, and then I don't want to go before, but I want to, and I don't, and I want to. It's just too much. It's too hard and stressful.
how is it like for me to live with symptoms of persistent depressive disorder? In my case, it seems to be a really specific characteristic being so integrated into your core sense of self that you don't really know how you be like without it. In this case of chronic depression or dysthymia, it is the sense of gloominess, the melancholy, and the sadness, emptiness that follows you around everywhere, no matter where you go. Even in the happiest of times, you believe that you are joyful, but you don't really know what exactly it means to be joyful when sadness and all of that feeling of nothingness is so prevalent in your life that you don't really know anything else beyond that and what it really means to have that. I am still pretty perplexed about how other people could be happy, other people could be so in touch with it, and it also distances me from the hobbies and interests that I once had. I still believe that they are things that I enjoy, but oftentimes when I do them, I find it really hard to know if I really do enjoy them or if I am just trying to brainwash myself into believing that I enjoy them, because I don't really remember what it's like to enjoy things anymore. And whatever thing that I don't feel a repugnant dislike and a little bit of a gravitation towards liking in my own brain that I would consider as something that I enjoy, but it's really theoretical. Like, these things are not very clear. In practicality, you don't really know what you're doing with your life, and there's always that sense of pointlessness no matter where you go, even when you technically know in your head that everything is possible if you try in a very concrete way. But even with that belief, even with other people encouraging you with positive affirmations, it doesn't get you anywhere. And talking about your experiences don't really bring you anywhere either. So you just kind of, in my case, I'm stuck in a loop, and all those things makes me feel like I have no appetite to eat. There's sometimes when I'm just so tired of my life, I'll just keep eating or keep sleeping, and sometimes it's just really imbalanced, like you don't really know what you're doing anymore with your life. And it's tough because it's something that seems to have no end in it, and it doesn't even pause for a minute in my case, and that can be very difficult to live with. What is my greatest struggle with persistent depressive disorder? My greatest struggle is with suicidal ideations, and that is because all the feelings I get from chronic depression makes me feel so hopeless that oftentimes I am just fed up of existing in this world. And I know technically that there are so many reasons that I could be alive, so many people that are supporting me and the other parts of me. There are so many people out there who are suffering worse than I do, objectively speaking, as in financially right now, food, shelter, and I have my parents' protection, so I am lucky. But it doesn't stop me from feeling fed up of everything and just feeling like whatever I do right now, I'm just wasting time because it's pointless. And so that is something that really plagues me at the end of the day, and that is my greatest struggle. Of course I do struggle with other things too, but this thing is the one that I struggle with coping the most.
Today, it looks like I am able to do something well. but it doesn't always mean that I am able to do it every day. So we still need support regularly.
Invisible illnesses affect more people than you may think it does. So it's really important for all of us to believe in other people's stories and to constantly check in and ensure that people around you are okay.
People with chronic illness come from a wide range of backgrounds. A lot of the time, the chronic illness advocates I see on social media don't have any overlapping symptoms as I do. But we are all struggling anyway, and that itself is admirable. There are some times where chronic illnesses can impact us a lot and become very debilitating towards our functioning. But there are also other times where we seem to be able to overcome all those struggles and be completely normal per se. So that can fluctuate and that can have us questioning our self-worth. There are a lot of people who seem fine on the outside, but they're actually struggling on the inside. And sometimes people don't actually know that they're struggling. They just think it's a part of life, it's a part of reality. Like, they don't believe that they need help, but you could be the person who makes them realize that they do need support. They think they could manage it all by themselves, but they don't actually.
What is one thing about invisible illnesses that I wish other people would know about? I wish there is more awareness that mental illnesses and psychological issues need to be taken as seriously as physical issues and disorders out there in the world. Just because it's invisible, it doesn't mean that there is no impact towards a person's well-being. And it can still be as debilitating as needing a wheelchair if it's not examined or supported properly.
A lot of people say that I'm bodily young, and that's true, I am. And they usually make a lot of remarks about how I have a lot of time to do many kinds of things and how there's a lot of hope that comes with somebody like me. But what they don't know about is that chronic illnesses can affect anybody at any kind of age and demographic. So even though I'm physically young, my body is not deteriorating in the way that, say, an elderly person would. It still affects me on a daily basis, and it makes me unable to achieve my potential in ways that people often expect me to, especially when they think that I don't really have anything to worry about, given how I have never had a job yet as of now. I've never had some of those financial challenges that they have, and that can be easy for other people to misunderstand.
Yes, it's difficult. Nobody says it's ever easy to be living with a chronic illness, but we all try our best to choose being alive over being dead. And every single day and every single time we try our best to live productive, fulfilling lives, it's a huge feat, it's an accomplishment.
Illnesses happen to everyone. Regardless whether you recover quickly or you recover slowly, you are still dealing with something at some point in your life. It is a normal phenomenon. Lastly, we come from all walks of life, and we deserve respect as individual human beings. We have experienced different kinds of things. Whether you are an alter or an individual whole person, you are still somebody who deserves to have their voice heard. You are valid, you are loved, you are cared for, at least by me, if not by anybody else on earth. And I know that God is with you if you're religious. and we are all here together on this earth trying to find our way through.